unleash your greatest fears. Tonight, Gotham falls. A city of fear rises.
City's overrun. We don't stand a chance. What are you doing?
Evening the odds. There is no savior. No more hope. No more Batman.
Mute everybody. Alright, Internet. We're really Entertainment is Dead this time. The first 2 minutes were a joke. We were just, having 2.5 minutes of silence to celebrate our new system. Or something. Go through introductions real quick. That was, of course, the legendary Arkham Knight trailer that dropped this morning that I loved. Steve, say hello to the people again.
Hey everybody, how are you? Good, cool. All right, haven't seen you in a bit.
Yeah.
Glad to see you.
Joining us now, Ryan.
The one, the only, the reigning king. What else need be said? The only question I have is Lance wearing pants. That's the only question I ever have.
Lance isn't even on the podcast right now. He's just muted, hanging out. Next to Lance's vacant spot, we have Rich.
Yep, that's me.
And forever left as a picture with a beard, we have Jacob.
Howdies.
Yeah, howdy.
I honestly
howdy?
don't know why I just said that, so you're welcome, Internet.
Uh-oh,
Hey, y'all.
Lance. I see Lance coming online, so we'll see what happens.
He's putting on pants.
I have pants on.
What about Sriracha?
I have sriracha in the fridge.
He's dialing in from a cave,
Yeah.
the Bat Cave, maybe. Who knows? We'll figure it out.
The
So, all right, so let's-
masturbatorium.
The Masturbatorium, aka the Bat Cave. So that was a new trailer. I'm really excited about it. I guess I'm the only one here that watched it 15 times today, but I'm stoked to see that Rocksteady is back making a game, one of my favorite series currently, and it's, I don't know, not a huge Batman guy, but I'm a huge Dark Knight guy, so I'm pretty excited to see that go live.
Not excited.
I know you're not excited. That's okay. though.
I'm actually not excited either, honestly.
I just want Rocksteady to make a Double Dragon game because then my life would be complete.
Oh.
They remade Double Dragon. It wasn't that great. I didn't really enjoy it.
No. We want
He said
Rocksteady.
Rocksteady to make that game. That would be...
That would
I
be
want
awesome.
them to make a Ninja Turtles game, but I'm never gonna get what I want, so fuck them.
Can they make a Ninja Turtles game with noses?
No.
Didn't they do a Ninja Turtles versus Double Dragon crossover? I'd settle for that.
No,
from
that's
Rocksteady.
Battletoads, my
Battletoads.
friends.
Yeah, Battletoads. Well, you take what you can get at this point, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So we have a legendary panel of 17 people tonight. What are we talking about? I wasn't following the conversation we were planning this thing. So what are we doing? Lance, what are you
Want me-
doing with your big giant head? What are we debating? What's the plan?
So Rich brought up some topics that he wanted to debate on today, and he he feels very passionate about the fact that gaming is dead already, and that the industry as a whole is already fucked. And he wants to elaborate on that, but we're not going to let him do that just yet. And I don't know how far in, if I've already missed the X-Men stuff. I've already missed that.
No.
We haven't done anything yet. We are literally just saying hello to the internet.
You have put on pants in the morning, Lance. That's where we're at.
So I put on pants, I brushed my teeth, then I did my hair, and I introduced myself. So we're going to talk about X-Men, and Steve's going to elaborate on that. Any other new news besides Batman that we want to talk about?
News? No.
I still haven't been on.
Rumors and speculations?
No.
Maybe.
Oh. Just kidding.
Okay, dive right into X-Men. Steve, go. Quick spoiler-free summary.
I'm prepared for this.
I could give it. There were powers. They were used. Things happened.
There were blue people.
It's roughly based off the comic books and the animated cartoon series, the Days of Future Past. There's the future sucks, so they send some mutants into the past to fix it and make it better. There's some fighting. There's some mutant powers. There's some Mystique not wearing any clothes. I don't want to talk too much about it because I might spoil it. But if you have any questions,
You've already talked too much about it.
Oh,
Mystique not wearing any clothes, man. Come on now. You gotta savor that. You gotta let the people be surprised by that one, man. Come on.
So, in the cartoon series, Cable goes back to the past, which would have been the present at that time.
Bishop.
Cable did too, though.
Cable is thousands of years in the future.
All right, so I'm trying to think here, but in the comics, or I'm sorry, in the television series, I want to say Bishop and Cable were in the same time frame, right? Or I don't know.
Yeah, they exist in the same universe at some point. Yeah.
Okay.
At some point, they all exist in the same universe. At some point.
Tell me, I guess my biggest question right now is, does this redeem the clusterfuck which was X-Men 3?
Yeah, I would watch this multiple times and enjoy it. But my only thing that I can get picky about this is when I try and compare this movie to the comics or to the animated series or to other X-Men movies. The way I try and review things is, this is a movie, I'm going to take it for what it is. It's a superhero movie, it's entertaining, it's got a good story, and I liked it.
Okay.
So the big thing that I'm excited for is somebody on Twitter after their press screening Monday night sent out a thing saying that basically we're finally getting smart, eloquent, if you will, like superhero movies. They were calling them heady movies. You know, Cap 2 was amazing. Spider-Man was pretty good. Godzilla was fucking mind-blowing in my opinion. And then they're saying now X-Men is really, really good. So do you think that's the case?
I know Jacob wanted to chime in right there and be like, "Fuck Godzilla."
Listen, trying to not be so negative, okay?
Gojira.
I think it's really good. Yeah.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. It's different than the original arcs, but they did it in a way that I think is good. The main characters are Logan and Raven. Those are your two main characters that you really focus on. And I think the
Jacob, just get up and walk out right now, Jacob. Just do it.
All right, I'm out.
Okay.
He's fine.
I'm getting really fucking tired. I mean, I like Hugh Jackman as an actor, but I'm getting really fucking tired of everything revolving around Wolverine.
You only see his ass once, though.
Agreed.
So I
You
mean,
only see his ass once?
the women only swooned once, right?
Fair. All right. Well,
Seriously.
to keep the spoilers to a limit, though, sounds like it was a good flick, and we all need to go see it Friday. Yes.
Best picture
Absolutely.
material. Hell yes.
It's fantastic.
Okay.
And then let's talk about it afterwards, especially those of you who have read the comic / watched the cartoon.
So
So
that's
is this-
you and Jacob? There we
So
go.
you feel like
Hey.
if you were to, this is a movie worth taking your whole family to, or is this a movie like you should see at a dollar movie? Is this something you should wait till video? What are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
give us a price point. $1, 10,
Right.
15, 25. I mean,
And then whatever I feel like it's worth, I'm going to take it out of your ass afterwards if I don't get what it's worth. So.
Oh yeah, things took a turn on tonight's podcast. Yeah.
I mean, would you buy popcorn for a movie like this? That's really the question.
I did not buy pop. Oh, I did buy popcorn, but I didn't eat it.
You just cut a hole in the bottom of the bucket.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad you went there, Tom. I was about to.
Strangers wouldn't eat it. It was strange. So my press passes were for the 3D version, and I actually liked this film in 3D, and I hate 3D movies. There are 2 3D movies in the past few years that I've liked, and that's Avatar and this.
What about Jaws?
Didn't like it.
Did anybody see Godzilla in not 3D so that I can hear?
I did.
And was it just as good, Tom, without 3D?
I liked it more in 2D actually than I did in 3D. Some
Really
of the
good
stuff
to know.
that bothered me during the 3D film didn't happen in 2D, so
Perfect.
like the children getting in the way of me seeing the death and destruction. So I was actually happier with the 2D version.
Okay, good to know.
So anyway, price point, I would say it's worth what's a standard non-3D ticket, like $8 or $9. I would say it's worth that.
Okay.
The
Good
3D
to
was
know.
cool, and if you have the opportunity to see it in 3D, and you're not fully against 3D movies, I would recommend it. There's no gimmicky things flying at the screens, and they really use it to add depth to the scenes. Certain buildings pop in and out, which I think.
So I can get a perception of what exactly you call good superhero movies. Tell me your top 3 superhero movies so that I can kind of gauge where to place this and have expectations going in.
Top superhero movies. I'm gonna go Iron Man 2, Captain America 2, and Ghostbusters.
Okay, so this movie's gonna be shit. All right, good to know. All right, just kidding. Just kidding, Steve.
Okay, so that was our movie cover. We diving into the discussion at hand then? Is that the next plan?
Right.
Unless we want to hit on any Batman stuff in more depth.
No.
Besides, some people
got-
like it, some won't.
I got my Doom beta key and my Wolfenstein review copy today, but I had to
Fucking
work.
mad at you.
But I had to work 13 hours, so you can imagine that it hasn't even left my shoulder bag yet. It's just sitting there.
Oh, I feel so bad for you right now.
Is
with
a shoulder
your-
bag a man satchel?
It is not. It's actually a laptop bag by OGO.
They're
It's a
pimps.
Merce.
So, you need to find out if that key is available right now, and if we can.
The beta is not available yet. No.
I
It's not
already
available.
I've already I've already added it to my queue or whatever and bought it, but it's not I don't think you can download it yet, right?
Dude, the betas, they're not even in alpha. I think they're still pre-rendering some of the art right now. There is no way that you won't be playing Doom in beta for a year.
You know
Okay.
what, if they were like, hey, this is a Doom beta, and really it just downloaded the original Xbox version of Doom 3, I wouldn't care. I love Doom 3.
It'd be even better if it was like the original Doom or Ultimate Doom.
They're like,
Ultimate Doom. Ah, fuck off!
here's the new Doom beta, and it's Ultimate Doom.
It'd be even better if they like scaled it up to HD or something like 1080p, and it just yeah, fuck off!
I don't want them to scale up. I just want like a whole black letterbox with a tiny little game in the middle.
See, that's what the
All right.
BFG edition's for.
The
Let's go do that now. You can do that now. You can play the entire setup right now.
Just get the upscales. The upscales, dog.
I think I've got BFG edition.
You do.
So
I might
All
actually
right.
be playing that this weekend on stream. I told a friend of mine, he's never finished it, he's never played it, and I told him that we'd turn out the lights in my garage, he could sit on the couch and watch me play it, and I'd jump up and scream and carry on like a little girl.
Man.
Does it
Some-
play as
some
well-
man cuddling.
is it scary when you're playing co-op in that on PC?
Well, it still doesn't do co-op without a mod. Like, you have to play the original Doom 3. He's just going to watch me play it because he couldn't handle playing it at his house by himself. So it's, safety in numbers. But I've beaten Doom several times, and I played the first 30 minutes of it on the BFG edition, and there was a point that I jumped out of my chair and ran out of the room. I was freaking out, dude. It's going to be bad. It's going to be really bad.
I wonder if Rich left you stranded with the Pinky Demons.
Oh my god, dude.
Why do we have to keep visiting that?
Fucking Pinky Demons, man.
Tom's still mad about the Pinky Demons. I was like,
No,
they came
Tom,
through the glass.
Tom, it's comments like that that make us think that you're not worthy of a Doom beta. that you should have given that shit up. That's all I'm saying.
No,
Because I'm not going to leave my friends with the Pinky Demons.
it's actually me sacrificing Tom for my better well-being and living in.
Oh, is that a big scary demon? I'm going to go through this door. Good fucking luck, bro.
Yeah, like, hey, those are two Pinky Demons eating you. Now I'm gonna kill them. So.
Oh Lord.
Okay, so Rich, go ahead, lead us off. What's your rant? I'm ready.
What am I talking about?
Penises.
Nope,
So
I'm not talking about that.
I mean,
So, Rich, okay, well, I'm gonna have. Okay, Ryan's not going first.
A penis is like an eclair, really. I mean, it's cream filled, long. Sometimes there's chocolate on top. What do you say to that?
Oh shit!
Get it all out of your system, literally.
No,
Hey,
let's,
It would take a lot for that, Lance.
let's go. What am I talking about?
So why are you so mad lately? Tell me what's on your mind about the gaming industry, specifically.
Oh, gaming is dead. Like they've got. What did we decide, Ryan? The shelf life is 3 years.
3 to 5.
3 to 5 years. Their shelf life. Gaming as we know it is gone. And there are so many pieces of evidence. There's so much evidence to point to this. It's unbelievably like. Ryan said something to me the other day. We were talking about something that makes everything click together and sit home and make it very clear as to why this is going to happen. So we have 3 classical music composers. We have Bach, we have Beethoven, we have Brahms. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I believe it's pronounced Beethoven. Continue.
Okay, so when Beethoven, Bach, and Brahms made their music, Beethoven, let's say he goes first. I don't know the timeline, so you musical people out there can correct me later or yell. I don't give a shit. So Beethoven makes his music, and then Brahms makes his music. They don't abandon Beethoven's music when Brahms makes his. When Bach makes his, he learns from what's going on with Brahms and what's going on with Beethoven, but it's all considered classical music. You don't leave that shit behind. You don't leave cinema behind. Like, people still watch Casablanca and The Wizard of Oz, and man, my kids were watching the old 1970s Winnie the Pooh today. Like, you don't leave that shit behind. Yeah, they like to remake some of it, but you don't ever abandon that stuff.
There's an appreciation for older stuff and older film, is what you're saying.
In everything, in most things, except technology. There is no benefit for you having your computer that you had in 1999 when your phone, here's my phone right here is more powerful than my computer was in 1999. There's no benefit to keeping up with technology in order to do that. So what does that generate? That generates a ridiculous amount of hype around them being on top of whatever's next. You have to have the newest thing. People who work in cell phone places, they'll be the first ones to tell you, like, that's their whole job. Dude, your phone's a year old, it's too old, get a new phone. Video games are no exception to that. They don't do backwards compatibility anymore because you leave that shit behind and move up to the next thing. There's some appreciation for certain games, like for a nostalgic factor, and because video games are an emotional response to what you're doing, and that's where our memories come from when we play games, that makes sense. But you don't keep that technology around because you've abandoned it. The new thing is so much better, you don't need that anymore. You just leave it behind. It has no value. They've completely devalued it. So that's what Ryan and I were talking about the other day. How does this tie into the gaming industry as a whole is dead? In order to keep up a business model that runs that fast, that runs with whatever the newest thing is, they have to convince you that if you don't have the newest thing, then you're doing it wrong.
I thought about a thing to tie into this amazingly. That it's a simple example. Think about the holodeck from Star Trek. If that holodeck came out tomorrow, regardless of what games were available for it, you would jump ship onto that thing. And think about the fact that the Oculus Rift is coming, and that 3D, not so much in like the 3D goggles movie theater experience is coming, but to the point that it's going to be that immersive that anything that came before it that was 3D, even similar, or even COD, I mean, an FPS is going to benefit the most from this sort of thing. It's just going to blow away everything that came before it. Nobody's going to go back and play like Return to Castle Wolfenstein, much less the COD 4s, much less whatever's out this year that's even comparable.
See, but I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because as an example, I went and bought Return to Castle Wolfenstein and the original Wolfenstein 2 months ago, thinking, you know what? It was like $4 on a Steam sale for both. My first thought was, hell, you know what? I cannot wait to go out and play these.
Now, I'm glad that you mentioned that, sort of, because we'll get to that. Steam is actually the exception to the rule, which is really, really weird in this conversation. We'll get to that in a second, so don't let me forget. Here's the thing, though. If you have to have the newest thing all the time, you have to have the biggest, brightest, best thing, in order to stay current with what there is. And I'm not talking about for a nostalgic factor. Someone in our Twitch chat just said, nobody left classic gaming behind, is still here. That's great. You can play the original Zelda because it stirs an emotional response to you. You can enjoy that. But they don't make any money off you playing the original Zelda anymore. We're talking about this strictly from a business model. From a business model, if you don't have the newest thing, they can't make you the next thing, and they can't continue a hype train. This is the problem. The problem is, 2 years ago, this blew. I asked a friend of mine this. I said, 2 years ago, what were you playing? Do you remember? You say, it's even better than that. Here's a better question. Hey, do you remember when Gears of War 3 came out, guys?
Yeah, I still think it's a pile of shit.
I know you didn't like it, but you remember getting online and playing it, and that memory doesn't feel so far away. They outdated that game in 6 months. The Halo 4 is not even 2 years old yet. It just turned 2. And it feels so far away from what's going on because if you don't have the newest thing, if you haven't generated the next game that everyone has to buy, you're done. The season pass also ties into this. If you bought Call of Duty Ghosts the day it came out in November, there was a map pack available for you in January. If you get online right now and you go to play the original maps that were set up for Call of Duty Ghosts, there's not people playing them. And the reason they're not playing them is because Activision themselves outdated the content from their game by releasing this map pack. And then when the second one comes out, people are only playing the playlist for the second map pack. You're constantly outdating your stuff. You don't even get 2 months turnaround on content before you have to play the new thing. To support a business model on that kind of structure is totally insane. You'd have to. We're going to get to the point because they keep cutting it further and further and further. And I'm glad we played the Batman trailer because this means that there's now been a Batman game every year now for 3 years. There's an Assassin's Creed game every year for 3 years. If we don't do that and then cut the lifespan of that game in third by putting out a season pass, we're not making the money that we need to sustain what we're doing. You cannot sustain a business model like that and constantly keep revolving hype. You're going to keep cutting it shorter and shorter and shorter as you squander, or as you pander to the most unappreciative and ignorant group of consumers in the entire world. The gamers as a whole have the most power of any buying group ever because it's the biggest market on earth these days. It's bigger than movies. It's bigger than books. It's bigger than all sorts of things. But they just want to feel something when they buy stuff so they don't think before they spend their money. So it's going to get to the point, Steve, well, I'll answer your question in a second. It's going to get to the point where if they're not putting out a game once a week to maintain that hype machine, they're going to go bust. And the problem with that is they can't support that kind of business model. That they're already doing it. They're cutting the lifespan of their game in a third and making it so that you got to get the new thing, you got to get the new thing, you got to get the new thing. Day one DLC feeds into that. Assassin's Creed, another great example for this is Watch Dogs. You think that they're not on the clock right now, either deciding that, okay, Watch Dogs hasn't pre-ordered enough, it's not going to make us enough money, making a sequel for it will not benefit anything for us, or you think they're already working on the next cycle to make that. They're going to delay The Division, which is a game that we're all excited for, because they have to put out another Watch Dogs game in a year, or they completely lose that hype machine. The problem with the business is that they're cutting the time frame on this in half, and they have no way to support themselves if they're not making this money, the way that they're spending it, the way that they're creating things. Which is why I said the way we know games and the way that publishers make games, the people who couldn't already set up this business and the people who couldn't run this model have already gone out of business. You know, how many publishers died in the last 3 or 4 years? This is part of the reason why. If you can't maintain that, then you're done. And they're done, and they just don't realize it yet. Or maybe they do, and they're just trying to cash in. This is like burning down the rainforest for paper and not replanting the trees to sustain your business model. It's crazy. Steve, you had a question.
Yeah, I kind of might have lost my thought, though. So you're talking about just the way we know gaming is dead. And just to summarize, you're saying gaming's dead because of the way the publishers are pushing the games out.
Yes. Nintendo will be the last holdout because they don't give a shit about development schedule. They could care less. Yes, they could care less. They're like, we're going to put out our game when it's done, and we don't care. That's also why you don't see third-party games on the Wii and the Wii U. That's why they have such a problem with it. They don't sell like that because they can't generate that money from that kind of development cycle. Their consumer base
getting carried away
is waiting for the Nintendo game, not their stuff. That's another thing. Continue your question.
That's another thing. So just to summarize, you're saying the gaming, the way we know gaming now, which is what you're considering 2 to 3 years ago of buying a game, playing that game for a long period of time, and then upgrading to something in a few years, longer than buying expansions for it the day it comes out, right?
Right. So a great example for this is Halo 3. Actually, you can actually do this by time frame with Halo 2. Halo 2 came out, everyone played it online. We did a podcast a while ago remembering all of our happy Halo 2 moments. Everyone played that game online. They played it for almost a year and a half before they got a map pack. And then they got 3 map packs over a period of like 3 years. And that was it. They were done. But it took so long for them to do it. Halo 3 came out. They had a map pack out in 6 months. And then they had 2 more that came after that. It was over a 2-year span. Halo 4 came out. The first map pack came out 6 weeks later. Like, the market has changed so much for that. And there's no value in playing your games longer than 6 weeks. If you're not done with it in 6 weeks, then fuck you. You're out. You're not the consumer that we need in order to maintain our business. So yes, as a whole, that publisher part of it is killing it. Now there is another side to this. Ryan will talk about what the future holds. But if you get to the point where you have to release 1 game a week to maintain this, you can't keep your doors open because you're not earning enough money to do this because of how much you're spending it and how crazy your development schedule is. It's gone. It's gone.
So, I understand where you're coming from, and I definitely agree with a lot of what you're saying. And, I mean, there's plenty of industries that are built the same way. I mean, look at the housing industry. I mean, we're in a fucking recession, and they're still building new buildings, and there's empty buildings everywhere, but we're employing people to build new structures, which kind of makes...
Because it'll pay off in the long run, of course. That's why.
Yeah, you know, because...
But you've overextended yourself as a gaming company. You don't have extra buildings down the road to sell. You have no product to sell because you can't develop anything.
That's not the relation I was trying to make. I was just trying to say that, like, the building keeps going, and they keep making stuff to employ people, and they find a cash cow, and they keep going with it. And I get what you're saying, but I mean, I guess we should maybe talk about, we can continue to rant about this, but we should also probably talk about what a better solution is, which, I mean, I can think of a couple right now off the top of my head, but I want to hear what probably Jacob has to say because he's been quiet, so I want to hit Jacob first, and then Tom, and then probably kick it back to Steve. So go ahead, Jacob.
I mean, like you, I get where they're coming from. I think it's more of gaming as we know it is kind of on its way out, but gaming has been changing and evolving over the past couple of years anyway. You look at Facebook games and mobile games and microtransaction games and how ridiculously popular they are. That speaks to where they see their money coming from. I mean, you microtransaction the shit out of somebody. It doesn't matter if you release a game every month. You're just going to microtransaction the money out of them. And unfortunately, it's shown people will pay it.
So that's actually the point I was making with the gamers are seriously the biggest consumer base. We have so much power as gamers. Like, your dollar means so much these days because of what I'm saying. If they can't support their game, like, honest to God, here's the worst case scenario for Activision. What if the next Call of Duty only sells, 1.5 million copies?
Then they may go bottom up.
Then they have a huge problem. They may not go bottom up, but it's basically like a four-legged person, four-legged dog. You kick out one of their legs, and they're gonna, stand there, but they're not gonna be sturdy while they do it.
Hey, you leave Joey 3 legs out of this. He's a tripod, and he stands tall.
He stands tall. But you kick out his back leg, and he has a much harder time with it. That's what I'm saying. Is like each piece goes into it. So as a consumer base, gamers actually have the most power I've ever seen in any kind of an industry that is completely squandered and wasted. They don't think about that stuff before they do things. They walk into a store, they go, "That looks fun," and then they drop whatever money they have to get it as part of this hype machine. They have to maintain. Well, I got to get the new game. Well, this game came out. I'm not going to lie. I have 500 games on Steam because I'm guilty of it too. I'm not going to say that I'm not. And I've got tons of other things that I've played.
We all love games. We love games.
But I was talking to a friend of mine talking about how they trade on our feelings of nostalgia for their to fill their coffers, and it's the same principle. We have the most power, and we just give it back to them. We let them do whatever the fuck they want to us, because what do we care? We get to play a game.
Okay, time on that, Rich. We need to get Tom in here. So.
But I think that can be said of any industry. So yes and no. Like, we have consumerism as a marketing tool, and that's what we have mostly worldwide. You can't peg the gaming industry specifically for that. Let's look at the cellular industry. Every year Apple launches a new iPhone. Every year Samsung now launches a new Galaxy. Every year, Nokia is going to be dropping a new Windows phone, right? And people come in and buy it. Why? Well, it's new. You know what I mean? Well, this has a fingerprint scanner. Oh,
I actually thought about this part of a lot, and if you think about it, it's not so much that it's gaming; it's that gaming is a tech industry. And not consumerism necessarily, because look at music.
Music was the same way in the 90s, though. That's the thing. Like this, what the gaming industry is now reminds me of what the music industry was in the 90s and how shitty it was.
Yes, and difference I can think of on that point.
With the big difference I can think of is that you look at we'll say Scorpions. They still exist, but we'll say the Scorpions. The 80s music. You look. Here I am. Yeah. They're still getting money every time that plays on the radio, and every time somebody buys that CD. I'm not saying everybody's going out and buying Best of Scorpions, but they still have those funds incoming. But with gaming, it's not so much about we have continual money coming in, because The Legend of Zelda is still selling 25 years later. That's not it at all. In gaming, it's more like Google or anybody else that the Galaxy S5 is what matters right now. Galaxy S4 sales may still be 300,000 a month, but our S5 is doing $1 million a month. Fuck the S4. Who gives a shit about it? We give a shit about the things that are making us continual large amounts of income, not old, steady amounts of income, because it's as opposed to like an old album.
But I guess my counter to that is, I don't know if necessarily... I think reinventing yourself is a good thing. And the reason why I feel that way is, let's look at the music industry in the 90s. Some good stuff came out of the 90s, right? I mean, my favorite artists came out of there, even though I'm mostly a metal guy. But a lot of bands that I still really like did. But they had to fight their way through this massive record label system and pray to work it out. And now we're sitting here in 2014. Good music still shows up. And I can get it at the touch of a fingertip. Someone says, hey, check out this album. I have it on my device in 30 seconds. If gaming ever reaches that point, it'd be phenomenal.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah,
but that's going to be the death of so many things. That's why we're saying it's the death of everything.
Right, but that's not a bad thing. I feel like this is painting the negative picture.
It's going to be a revolution.
If Activision has to redefine itself as a studio, great. It's about damn time. If EA has to go back to the drawing board and figure out how they're going to do it, awesome. As far as microtransactions go, that's another thing when people are, blah, 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 nickel and diamond us, blah, blah, blah. They give you a free fucking game and tell you can pay for stuff. Hearthstone is probably in my opinion, one of the best put together microtransaction games to date, because you jump in, you play it, you're provided with all the free cards, you're given ample opportunity to earn the gold to buy the decks, you get arena matches, all kinds of stuff you can do, and if you want to spend some cash, it's cheap. I mean, honestly, man, I have spent 21 hours in 2.5 weeks on Hearthstone.
It's a good business model, and
I have spent $10 for that.
Here's something though that kind of let's talk about if that's what's going to happen, or we have to change business model. You said that if Activision has to change their business model, that's great. Activision won't change their business model.
Well, then they'll go under.
That's the problem. So let's say they go under right now. Okay, what do they take with them?
Franchises.
So we're talking about the feeling that you get from playing things. You're playing Wolf right now. That's a Bethesda game. Bethesda can't make games anymore because the model collapses and they're out of whatever. This goes back to what we were saying when I was ranting and raving about Harmonix last week for Kickstarter. They said that they needed $775,000 to make an Amplitude remake. They're going to put $775,000 of their own money into this, and they said that that's a huge financial risk that they can't take. That to me means they should already be out of business, and they're going to take Rock Band and Amplitude and Frequency and all of the games that they made, all of the source code and all the things that they did, because they haven't switched a business model. They're going to take it to the grave with them, and we're never going to see stuff like that again, except when it transitions. And that's the other part. When I said this whole thing is about gaming as we know it is dying and or dead already, what it transitions to, you guys, Lance said it, Tom sang us Rock You Like a Hurricane, something that happened to the music industry, something that is happening now with the movie industry, and something that will have to happen with the gaming industry as part of the changing of that business model. We were talking about that the other day too. But
I've always called it the great equilibrium because music hit it first. I mean, you go to YouTube now, if you want to listen to something, you can find blues. You could probably find some guy who's playing on a piano, who's playing his own version of classical. Because there's so much, it hits that great, whatever anybody wants to listen to. There's no more, Metallica's coming to town, I have to go to Metallica. Now it's that 50 artists are coming to town and there's so many tours, which is fine because that's globalization. That's inherently what this comes down to. But with gaming, it's on the way to that, which is going to be the death of a lot of things that you hold near and dear. Yeah, there'll be new franchises that come out of it, but there'll be some indie game that Tom thinks is the best thing he's ever played. They have made a game literally for Tom. The game might as well be called Thomas Winkley, the game. And he'll play it for the rest of his life, and it'll be perfect. And that's what indie does. Until then, though, you're going to watch everything you love die on the way there, because you know how many things survived it into music? I mean, yeah, they're still the big publisher. They still exist, but now they're advertisers. They're no longer content promoters so much.
I think that some of the companies will come around. I mean, think about Nine Inch Nails, Radiohead, who else did it? I think Pearl Jam, they put out free albums and basically said... Yeah, they put out free albums and basically said, fucking take my album, because those guys made more money by giving shit away to their fans, and, like, they kept me as a fan. You know, I shouldn't say that about Pearl Jam, but I should definitely say that about Nine Inch Nails. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, I'll still go and support Nine Inch Nails concerts. I still love Nine Inch Nails, but I feel like not everybody's getting a chance to talk here, so I want to hit on Steve. And I want to also go back to Jacob, and I want to talk to Tom for a minute. And you two need to be quiet for a second.
So, I mean, I don't know where to start.
The beginning.
I think with gaming going to these microtransactions and games being shelled out fast with DLC to really make it a full game, it's the consumer's fault. We made it that way. It wasn't the publishers saying, I think this is a good idea. The consumer's like, we want more now, right? The publishers, from their perspective, they saw, I released game A, some other company releases their game A, and it's beating mine in sales. Shit, I better come out with something new to beat, that company's game A, right? I want Call of Duty to outsell Battlefield 4. I better release something new in addition to. And
can I comment on that idea? Because that's a great idea, but it's like having this is why I think the consumer base is totally squandered and wasted and terrible. It's like having a 5-year-old stomping in front of your refrigerator going, give me more milk, give me more cookies, give me more milk, give me more cookies. At some point, in order for them to sustain their business model, they had to say, stop. We appreciate that you want our games, and man, as a parent, I would love to give my kids milk and cookies all day long, but I know that that's bad for them. And in order to sustain themselves, they should have made that change. They should have taken care of that in advance. So that's what I want to say about that.
All right.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I think the cycles will continue to stay like this. We're gonna get unfinished games with DLC to really complete the games.
Oh, I'm glad you said that, dude. I hate patches. Oh.
Because as consumers, that's what we want. We want games fast. We want it now. We want it perfect. It's not perfect, and we'll buy the add-ons if we like it. I don't buy season passes to games that I don't think are awesome. I don't buy the DLC for those games that don't sell me on the first part. I'll buy the $60 game and I'll try it. If you don't wow me, I'm not going to buy your DLC.
It's your decision. At the end of the day, it's your decision of where to put your money, which, I mean, I get where Rich is coming from. Like, the thing that I get out of what you're saying, Rich, is that we're putting our money in the wrong spots where we should be, trying to help independent developers. So, but what else do you want to add to that?
So I have a question. Jacob,
Steve?
Are you the oldest person here?
Doubtful.
I mean, was
I'm
music like this
probably-
in the 90s? I mean, I bought music, but I was not the music guy. I'm sure some of you were. Was it like that? Was somebody putting out a music video or some not DVD, God, I'll call it VHS, of their best hits? Was it like that for the music industry? Because this seems kind of unique to where we are now.
No.
DVDs added extra features, but did CDs? I mean, you saw that extra CD sometimes that had, like, the concert on it. But did music ever hit that standpoint where it's like, 6 months later, I'm going to put out, an additional single?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The music industry in the 90s was fucking terrible. I mean, you'd go buy an album. I'll give you two examples. You go buy an album for a hit song that you hear on the radio. The entire rest of the album, not produced by that artist, I mean, they get one song that was produced by, say, Rick Rubin or somebody like that, and then the rest of the album is complete shit. Actually, I should use a different example because I'm pretty sure Rick Rubin just produced albums, period. But anyways, so then you have that example, and then you have the other example of bands that turn around and produce a second album in like a small amount of time frame, and it was just complete shit. And you end up buying all these fucking albums for what? The cheapest you could buy a CD in the 90s was what, $18, and like a brand new release would be, you'd be lucky if you could get them for $15 or something like that. And you know, it was just ran by a bunch of fucking corporate sons of bitches.
I'll be honest, I don't remember buying much music. I remember Columbia House and all their deals and getting free music and then saying, good luck getting my money, bitches.
I was going to say, aren't they still sending you CDs, man? That's how that works, right?
Shit, I just got a new Soul Coughing CD last week.
I remember being up until 2 a.m.
Soul Coughing.
Fucking infomercials like, listen to Rock Me by Great White, listen to Round and Round by Rat.
Time Life Music presents great rock songs of the 80s. And then they get like David Cassidy to stand out there like he knows something about rock music from the 80s, dude. It was amazing.
It's like some angsty kid put together a mixtape and sold it on. Oh my God.
Lance, you need to make a mixtape for the next podcast. I'm just gonna say,
Actually,
I'll let you hear a Lance mixtape because that would be glorious.
Oh, you know what's even better?
I got one more comment to make about gaming real quick.
Okay, go for it.
I agree that gaming as we know it is dead. I don't think that's a negative, though. I think gaming today is dramatically different than it was 3 years ago, and even more different than it was 60 years ago. It's always going to die. It's going to change. It's going to be different. It might crash and burn like Richard's talking about, but then it'll find a better system. So
well, that's the great point I would say about the music side.
I agree with him.
Music will look at music and just, I don't think all of you do, but if you go to YouTube right now, you will find a guy playing blues on a piano who's never, he doesn't even know who B.B. King is or any of these old people, and he's just doing it because he likes it. We will come to that point, and it's probably not now, it's probably like 10, 15 years from now, where you'll find that game, the guy never played even The Legend of Zelda, but it'll be a game just like the first one. You'll be like, God damn, this is awesome. And we will have what I'm going to call the great nirvana of gaming, but that sure as hell ain't now, and it's not the next 5 years.
There actually is, hold on. I want to say something real quick that Ryan mentioned there. There actually is an example of that right now, is that they're making Mighty Number 9, which is the Mega Man spiritual successor, not an actual sequel to it because they can't make the sequels the right way. They're going back and revisiting that stuff, but that's all being done through indie. And in a second, I'm going to ask the question, how does this get fixed, or where do you see that going? Because I have a theory on that too, and I know Ryan does, but I want to hear from Jacob, because he mentioned some stuff about music, but you haven't talked really about this idea of the gaming stuff. Like, your opinion, sir.
Well, I think it's honestly all about the technology. It's whatever technology is coming out, that's what's going to change the entire landscape of what's going on. I mean, you look at music, you look at gaming, the way we game now is so much different than the way we gamed 5-10 years ago. We have access to so many things. I mean, more digital downloads. You look at things like Twitch, things like that. I mean, 10 years ago, we'd go over to a friend's house and be like, hey, cool, I'm going to watch you play. I'm going to play with you. Now, we just get online and we're watching our buddy play straight up from the internet.
I am looking at Lance's face right now.
This is how we all get fatter.
Just so you know.
This is how we all get fatter, everyone. Just so
Yeah.
you know. Like, hey, I don't want to go over to my friend's house. That requires walking. Or getting in my fucking car. I mean, who wants to do that? I'm just going to fucking watch all of you.
I will say that alcohol consumption goes up, though, when I don't have to go anywhere.
Alcohol sales go up. Obesity goes up. We win. We all win, everyone. So,
But I mean, it's all technology. It's like wherever the technology progresses, we think we know where it's going to go in the next 5 years, but it could go a completely different direction for us. And that's just going to change. I think, yeah, gaming, as we've said, gaming as we know it right now, it's on its way out. But there's going to be a new model. And as Rich is saying, it's basically because we are going to lead them to that model based on how we spend our money.
So, Jacob, what's that model?
Give me your money, bitch.
No. That's not a model. That's a rap song.
That's their motto. Is I want your money. It's the bottom line. You kind of, in my opinion, you run across two types of development. The how am I going to maximize the amount of money I can get from you, or how am I going to maximize your experience with my game? Sometimes those coexist. A lot of the times lately they don't.
Jacob, can you give an example of a AAA title of each of those scenarios? Who do you think is AAA right now who's doing it because they want you to enjoy the game experience, not just take your money?
Tomb Raider, to me. I
Let
mean,
me
that
ask
was
you a question.
I would say Respawn.
for that
Actually,
company.
I'm gonna to everybody. Is there a AAA free-to-play title? And that'll come. I'm not saying it won't come, but that's kind of the new direction that, like he's saying. Is there a AAA free-to-play title? And if not, I mean, I understand that.
Hearthstone.
Hearthstone, yeah, I mean, I had a AAA development company. I think the
Like
closest,
total AAA? Like
The closest we have is League.
Hawken.
Dota.
Would you say they're double A certainly? Like we're
They're-
almost there, but we're not quite there.
I feel like Hawken had AAA dreams, but not a AAA budget. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we'll get there to that point where you can honestly debate the fact of value versus like immediate value, which is a $60 game, versus long-term value, which is $60 or $100 over the course of, say, 4 years. Diablo 3 obviously didn't hit it. They even tore out the auction house. And so many other games followed that same model, where they're like, yeah, it could work, but no, it failed now. I mean, we'll see that. I'm just curious if anything has. You guys would know more than me. I play what I like. I don't play enough to know the answer to that question. For all I know, Lance, there will be an Aliens Online. That will be the perfect game for you, and it will have every gun imaginable, and it will be free to play, and they'll charge you $1 each time. But you could find that value in it, and maybe that'll come.
I already found the value in the single player. My problem lies with the fact that, I mean, the Sega is a raping fucking pile of shit. Like,
Go talk to the Sonic fans, man. They'll echo your pain in a big way.
seriously.
I will say
No,
that Sega is
here's-
fucking the most, probably, of everybody.
Now, I think, okay, so stupid me for buying the game on day one, because I could have waited a month or two and got the game cheaper, and I would have had just the same experience, and I would have enjoyed the game just as much. For me, fine, worth the $60 I spent on it. I have dumped probably 127 hours into that game, if not more, into just multiplayer. Now, I'll tell you what is the biggest bullshit thing that will definitely go along with what Rich is saying is the season pass for that was by far the worst season pass I had ever seen for a game ever. It
Did
was
they put
like
out DLC like a
they
lot of
put a season pass DLC for that. There was one pack that was even worth it. I would say if you had any interest in the Alien franchise and you were an Alien fan, the only one you would even want to purchase is the one that's a remake. It's a remake of a level. There's a level from every movie. So there's a level from Alien 1, Aliens, Alien 3, and I think Prometheus, and then maybe one more. So maybe Resurrection, but I can't remember it. So my point is that it was the worst season pass I've ever bought. It just goes to prove that these companies are just taking advantage of the fact that we want to support a game that we like, and it's fucking us. Now, I would say I think at this point in time we all need to talk about what we think is a good business model, and I'm going to go ahead and start with that. And I think the games that come to mind that I feel like I didn't get ripped off with, I'm going to go ahead and say first and foremost, and I've said this so many times, is Gotham City Imposters. It was not a AAA title. It's made by Monolith. I think it was $19 or $15 on Xbox Live when it launched, and it's free to play. It was free to play on PC. I think it launched later on PC though, didn't it?
They launched the same day at $15, and they moved everything to free to play later on.
So here's the thing about that game. The game was fun as shit. I had a great time playing it. I had absolutely no problem supporting Monolith and giving them more money for stupid shit like getting extra guns or getting different skins and stuff like that, or getting extra maps, because it was just optional. And at that point, I was like, I love this team. I love the fact that they put out games that I enjoy, I've liked most of the stuff they put out, minus Condemned 2. And so I don't mind supporting artists, making something that they're passionate about, making great games. League of Legends is a great example of that too, because I don't even like League of Legends that much. I don't like the system of it, but to me, I'm like, okay, I can have a better experience by purchasing a character for $10 and basically donating $10 to the people that are making this game, supporting servers, all this kind of stuff, and they can try it out. When I had dumped $60 on piles of shit like Call of Duty Black Ops 2 or Black Ops 1 or fucking pretty much everything to do with Call of Duty since Respawn left Infinity Ward. So, there's plenty of games out there like that where we all bought them and we're like, fuck, did I really just beat that in 4 hours and spend $60 on the game? Holy shit. Thank God that I have a friend that works at a GameStop so I can return it for full price and he can rewrap it and sell it as new. That never happened.
Never happened.
That never happened. So, but a lot of us didn't get saved by that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and let's go round robin. I'm going to start with Tom because he's been talking for a minute. So, Tom, tell us what you think is a good way for us to solve this problem.
I think the good way to solve the problem is threefold. Vote with your wallet. If you don't like it, don't buy it. If you don't, don't take to the internet ranting and throwing a fit. Vote with your wallet. I think the other thing is, I think it'll solve itself. I think at some point we'll get really sick of seeing stuff like this happen, and people will be forced to vote with their wallet. It's the same. I heard a really interesting thing on the radio this morning on the way into work. They were having a how do we get the youth engaged into our political system type debate, and I was laughing the whole way to work because at the end they finally went, well, I guess if we had more politicians that gave a damn, it'd be a lot easier. And it's the same thing, if we start seeing big corporate game studios doing more to reach out, 2K just did that huge Art of the Game documentary where they gave away a scholarship and they gave away things like that, and they had people working with their art. Capcom does a ton of community outreach as far as supporting the fighting game community. Blizzard is throwing StarCraft tournaments. That's the type of thing, that's the redefining we're going to see, and I think it just goes from here. So I think it's a problem that's going to solve itself. But I think the biggest thing is we're gonna see a lot more indie support, and we're gonna see a lot more of people just going out doing whatever they want. And when that happens, that's when you start to see really cool stuff. What's the game that came out today? I've been getting texts and tweets about it. It's the new RPG that's super pretty, really artistic. I don't remember the name. Starts with a T, like I want to say
Transistor.
Transistor, yeah. Like I've been getting blown up about Transistor, and a lot of the reviews I'm hearing from people are like, the combat system is not perfect, but it's beautiful, and you can tell these people loved making games. We're going to see more of that because the technology is getting easier to access. So that, to me, is where the future comes in. So
that's the same thing with, like, Torchlight. I'm actually going to bring that up, too. The first Torchlight is people were like, this game is not perfect. There's a lot of stuff missing. But in between playing Diablo 2 and Diablo 3, which I still think Diablo 3 is a pile of shit, regardless of what you guys think of it, and I liked Torchlight a lot. I didn't really play that much of Torchlight 2, but it wasn't a perfect game, but it was a great game, and it wasn't asking for $60 of my money. So, anyways.
Well, I think that the point to make in that and the equilibrium that Ryan was talking about was something, again, he and I discussed this the other day, but right now, if you watch a big budget movie like Ocean's 11, and then you watch a small budget movie that has a caper movie built into it like Confidence. If you haven't seen Confidence, it's a great movie. You should check it out. If you watch those two movies, they look the same. The technology has gotten to the point where an indie movie can look the same as a big budget movie. It just has to be written well. It has to be done well. We're at that point with games. The way that the Unreal Engine is being distributed, the way that things are being done. The game that Tom mentioned today that came out, Transistor, was made by the guys who made Bastion, and they made that game because they love games. The indie movement is actually what the future for gaming, in my opinion, is, because they have the technology, they can do the same stuff that everybody else is doing, and they can do it on what would be the equivalent of a shoestring budget. They can do it on Kickstarter, they can do it on crowdfunding, which is part of the reason why I was so angry that Harmonix was asking for money on Kickstarter last week, because they're taking away the power from those things, because they're trying to get a piece of something that they either don't deserve or don't get to be a part of because of where they're at. If they squandered their money, they squandered their money. So the indie movement creates that. I think. And I think that's where the future comes from. Gaming goes back underground like it was back in the 90s when, like, if you were a kid who played games, you know, the jocks would pick on you. When the consumer base has to go search for games, they're not going to do it. When Call of Duty's sitting right in front of them, they'll play it. But they won't go look for things like Transistor. They won't go look for... I mean, one of my favorite games that I've played in the last few years is Don't Starve. They won't go find those things.
You won't have to go find it because social media and everything else we have will bring it right to you. It'll be served to you on a silver platter via Twitch and via YouTube and via Twitter
And your
via
friends.
Facebook
Yeah,
and your
your
friends.
Yeah.
So,
But that was the thing, is back then it was all word of mouth too. Like if I played a game on the SNES, I'd tell my friends, man, this is fun, and we would go take care of that. So
yeah,
it's going to go back that way without the big budget part of it, and it's going to change forever because of that.
People's opinions speak way louder than anything else, any other social media. So I think that's right. It's gonna.
Yep.
I mean, I think Tom's right with that. So I'm gonna go to Steve now, and then we can cut back to, and I'm gonna go to Ryan, Jacob.
and then we'll close it out.
Yeah.
So, as what I think is going to be the solution, I think it's pretty similar to what you guys are saying. The indie game is going to be a huge part of it. You're going to get companies that are going to make their individual games. They're going to become popular, and the consumers are going to stop buying those DLCs and those unbuilt games. And I think what's going to happen is I think those big publishers, Ubisoft, EA, are going to extend the cycle of their games. Like Ubisoft Massive, the people making The Division, the last game they made was Far Cry. And they haven't worked on anything since, I think it came out in 2012. So all they've been working on is things like The Division and stuff like that, where, sure, Ubisoft is producing all these games, but they have a studio dedicated to making one quality game. And what I hope to see happen would be, sure, Ubisoft and EA can make as many games as they want, but they have one company, one division dedicated to making a good quality game. So they can still be cranking out titles left and right pretty fast, but you have one office dedicated to making that game. So I think that would be a good solution. You're going to have good quality games, hopefully extend the life cycle of the games, how long it takes them to make it. We can still get content as consumers. So that's what I think.
I hope you're right, dude. I hope you're right. Because I don't want to lose Rainbow Six to the void of nothing.
Oh my God, yeah.
I was so
But the
angry
nice
when
thing
it
is-
disappeared.
You know what, though? Here's the thing, though, about that, guys, is maybe we might see an indie developer that won't call it Rainbow Six and won't have anything to do with that, but
They'll call it Rainbow 7.
Rainbow 7. I want to see it. Indies out there, make it happen.
All right, Brian.
Jacob.
Oh,
Is it Jacob or Ryan?
Well,
we're going to end on
doesn't matter.
Jacob. Jacob has
Okay.
the best microphone, so we got to
Okay.
end on his quality voice.
Okay.
I know, he's got the sexy voice.
I do have the end quote for this, but I'll say it now. Fuck it. And don't get me wrong, usually I'm the doom and gloom guy, but this is hopeful, and none of you are going to agree with it. But this too shall pass. All of it you love, and everything I love, I will say more so, will be forgotten, dead, and gone. But out of the ashes of that, you'll see a game that's called MapQuest, or who knows, something stupid, and it will be better than
Tom's
StarCraft.
game.
Tom's game will blow away everything that came before it, even Zelda, even that game you love the most. And yeah, everything you love as a Grandpa Lance, when his child has children, someday down the line. Equilibrium happened with music. I mean, it's still in process, but it'll happen probably with movies next, honestly, same with TV. The question I would ask you is, what medium is last to be affected by it? I mean, clothing at this point is designed by a computer, some guy with a mouse. Eventually, you'll hit to that point where everything is so automated, and it will all pass. And at that point, creativity will soar, because that's all that's left. I mean, it's like a guy with a pencil. Art only came about because we got past cave drawings or all these stupid things that people did for however many fucking years. Eventually you got to Da Vinci. You got to that shit. We have not seen the Da Vinci of video games. We're not even close to the Da Vinci of video games. And all I'm saying is, it'll come. Probably not anytime soon, but it'll come.
That was beautiful, and it tugged at my heart.
Yeah, how do I come after that?
All right.
So
You know,
You bring
first
the
off,
smooth, sexy voice, and then it's done.
and your really awesome picture drawing that was not drawn on a cave wall comes on after that.
No, it was drawn on the back of a napkin.
There we go.
No, I mean it's been said. For me, I think it's really going to come to a point where the developers are going to reach a point where they're going to be forced to make the realization that the models that they're on right now and the way that they are just squeezing out every bit of money from consumers for terrible games, terrible extra DLC content, rushed games, rehashed games, is they're going to reach that point where they're going to go, if we want to survive in any form and make any sort of future impact, we need to change our business models. And whether that's going to work out for them, only time will tell. But, I mean, indie game developers, they're really showing it's where it's at. I mean, Transistor, Child of Light, Braid, Limbo, I mean, those are some of the best games I've played in years.
Alien Colonial Marines.
Yeah.
And just think about the fact that this is the beginning. What will come next?
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, so that's my take. Take it.
Okay,
Just look at my
guys.
beautiful drawing.
Thanks for tuning in for a long year of us yelling at each other about things. I'm going to do the quick rundown of the panel. We've got Jacob at JackerJake on Twitter, Lance at Chuck Sweat on Twitter, Rich at Trisket109, Ryan without a webcam,
Or
Steven
a Twitter. Or a
Or
Or
Twitter.
Twitter. He lives off the radar, ladies and gentlemen.
at Steve Gibbs. I am at Thomas Winkley. You can find us on Twitter, Addy Eddy Podcast. We are on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, entertainmentisdead.com. Occasionally we have wings. We're
on
everywhere.
Twitter twice. We're so
Right.
I have
Twitter
Red Bull
twice.
and I fly.
He has Red Bull and he flies. If all goes well, I am going to mute us, play an outro, and see if our new technology works.
Technology!
Technology! We'll find out momentarily. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time.